like the bleary-eyed baboon to an organ grinder's tune. Mankind screamies for whatever bits of dreamies we might treat them to. A computer for our hearts, make him stop or make him start. Feeding him emotion while we feed on his devotion, and he calls it art. Life's nothing but your business. In 1994, we fight for the spotlight, we kill for a cause. Life is nothing but your business. The world's a cabaret. We live for the fortune, we die for the fame.
So hello everyone, we are so honored to talk to Rachel from the cult musical classic The Apple. I can't believe we've got the opportunity to speak with you. I mean, The Apple is the quintessential cult musical, and we're just going to ask you questions and just dote on you in all of your cult glory.
Okay.
So before we get started, does any of my fabulous co-hosts have anything to say to Ray about his character and what The Apple meant to you and what you think about The Apple?
Fabulous. Fabulous. I love The Apple. I love your character. I love Shake/Snake. It's just mwah.
Well, what's so interesting? I was with one of the ladies that was in The Apple, Beverly Kay. And in fact, she was also in Starlight Express, and I saw her. What's today? Today is Saturday. I saw her Thursday night, and we were talking about The Apple, and I told her I was going to be doing this, and we were talking about the number speed.
Yes.
What you mean, speed?
Yeah. I mean, it was really, really, really interesting that, because I was told to go home 4 times because they wanted a dancer. I'm not a dancer, but Menahem said, okay, let me see what you can do. So I went and did the Slip and Slide, this song that they cut that number from the movie because I was so atrocious as a dancer. But it's that number got me the part, because I sort of slipped and slide all in his lap and gave him a good lap dance, and he gave me the part.
There you go.
And no film
And
of this exists.
The Apple means so much to a lot of people. And I guess before we get into everything, you're like stage royalty, because you, of course, originated the role of Rusty in the Starlight Express, but you've been in Hair, Jesus Christ Superstar. You were in Gone with the Wind, the musical that was in London. I mean, you were in everything. And so for you to be like such stage royalty and have such a stage presence, what did you think about when you got cast and were like immersed in this crazy world of The Apple?
Well, how can I put it? I wanted my film career to really be what sort of took me to where I wanted to go. But me and Sharita, in fact, I was just talking to Sharita. We just had a baby, Katrina. And in fact, after The Apple was finished, what we should have done was gone straight to L.A. the same way that Mary, who played BB, she went to L.A. and she was able to get a lot of things started. But I mean, when I first read the script, and I said, wow, this is really, really weird. And I said, this is very, very biblical, because I come from a church family, and I was playing a snake, so I had to pray my way through the entire thing. So I'm like, Lord Jesus, I need this job. I got to take care of my baby. But I mean, which is why one of the reasons why I think that the song Slip and Slide did not make it, because that was like really me. That was me enticing Eve's character, BB, to take a bite of this apple. And I'm going like, Lord Jesus, please, I don't want to be involved. Nothing's going to take me to hell. So even though there was hell inside the movie, but it was a trip. I met some of the most amazing dancers in the country in that show. A lot of them went on to do Cats and all these other musicals and stuff like that. But, when the reviews first came out, it was like, we didn't want to tell anybody we were in that movie, because the reviews would say, oh, this is the worst movie ever made. And we have fun. So the fact that people are appreciating it now, I think it was a little bit ahead of its time, even down to the design and the fashions and everything like that. So now people are getting into it, and I'm really, really thrilled.
What do y'all think about that, y'all?
Yeah, I mean, I discovered the Apple about like a decade ago from a friend of mine who loves cult films, and not to say that like it's so bad it's good kind of thing, but it was an introduction that it's funny. My girlfriend at the time and I and a bunch of friends went apple picking and heard about the movie The Apple and decided we're gonna have an apple party. So we're gonna make apple pies and apple strudel, and I made like an apple like a beef apple stew, and we're gonna watch The Apple. And we had no idea what we were getting into. It just all I knew was it's a musical. It's set in the futuristic year of 1994, and it's just insane. And the appreciation that I had for it watching it because it just was so no one was making movies like that at that time. I mean, like things like Rocky Horror Picture Show. You had the musical adaptations of Hair and Godspell, sort of, within that same decade, and this kind of closes it out. And I'd never seen a movie that did an interpretation of like the Old Testament
Yeah.
because a lot of these films, a lot of these musicals that were coming out of the 70s were kind of like leaning in towards like New Testament Jesus
Yeah.
Christianity. And this is predating that. This is Old Testament. This is the story of Adam and Eve transposed into this dystopian, weird future where, basically a music company controls the planet, essentially, and he's also the devil.
Yeah.
And it was just so offbeat that like I couldn't help but like find this appreciation for it. Even like the first song of the movie, the "Do the Bim," just brings you right in.
Well, the thing about it, one of the interesting thing was Menahem Golan. Uh, uh, in fact, he passed away. The entire crew was Israeli. The entire crew. In fact, they talked to each other in Israeli. And I remember that they had Passover right in the middle of my birthday. It happened on my birthday. It was really, really weird. I'm born September 22nd. And Menahem would say, "You're not an already Jew. We're all Jews. You're one of us." And we're going like, okay. And we shot the hell scene and the slip and slide scene in one of the bunkers that we shot it at one of the concentration camps.
Oh
Really,
my God.
really weird. We shot at and we felt so weird going in there. And the fact that we were doing this thing and with this Israeli company in a concentration camp in Berlin, it was real. A lot of things I didn't pay too much attention to while I was doing it because I was, young.
Yeah,
But
that's
now
very
that I'm
full
older,
circle.
yeah. Now that I'm older, I realize that I think that all of our lives have some sort of symbolic connection to something. Either a past, I don't know, maybe it's just too woo-woo, either a past life or a future or something. But I've always been sort of connected to these these weird ass woo-woos. Like Starlight was the whole, and Jesus, all these things. So to sort of kick off my career with something like The Apple. And I'm looking at Shake looking like this androgynous Grace Jones character. I love the clothes. I tried to take the clothes with me. I love the clothes, but I think I interrupted your other host. You asking them
No, it's
something.
okay. So I always want to go with Darren first because this is Darren's first time, and then Helena, who is the Apple aficionado, is obsessed with the Apple. Darren, I messaged Darren. I was like, "You've got to watch the Apple." Darren, what did you think about this?
I had no idea what to expect. And I saw the photograph of you, Mr. Shell, and I thought, goodness, that's very interesting. And then I saw your headshot and I went, okay, this is clearly a character. And I love a good character because the look of it reminded me of a character that I played when I was much younger. So I turned on the first number. I just went into it blind. And by the end of the first number, I said, oh my goodness, this is chaos magic. This is chaos magic. From the beginning to the end, I couldn't turn it off. I found myself humming the songs and I had so many questions just about the process, the wardrobe. What were some of the inspirations? I know that you just said Grace Jones and I went, oh my goodness, there's one. But then in doing a bit of a deep dive into your history, a little birdie told me that Mr. Andre DeShields may
Yeah,
or may have not been your mentor. So I
that's my
was wondering,
godfather.
is
That's
your
my god.
godfather?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was wondering if any of his charisma helped influence your role or your portrayal, or if that was just your own magic that you
No.
threw
Well, the
onto.
thing is, let's put it this way: if my godfather had been in the UK when they were casting it, he would have got the part. I was so glad he wasn't there. I was so glad because uh I learned so much from people like himself, people like Ben Vereen.
Mhm.
Like I was like the kid who watched
Okay.
all of my mentors go to their Broadway shows, and I was sitting there going, "I want to be in the Broadway, I want to do that."
Mhm.
Shesway Powell, the Harlettes,
Yes.
because I was in New York during that time when they were putting, and Bette Midler was doing all that stuff at the Baths, and Mark Shaman, he was like one of my first. He gave me my first club gig in New York before he wrote Hairspray and stuff. So what happened was I got auditioned for a show that took me to London. And so we were only meant, a show called The Little Willie Jr.'s Resurrection. And we were only meant to go and do this show and come back. But me and my ex-wife, we said, nah, mate, we're staying here. And got an audition for like I said, they told me to go home 4 times. I said, I'm going home. So I found the way in. And he liked the way I acted and he liked the way I sang. So Menachem, thank you. That's how it happened. But I'd say LaBelle was part of that whole time, that whole vision. Patti LaBelle, they're my favorite group. So now I look at the little, the Shake costumes. I'm saying, well, yeah, they took a bit of LaBelle and put that in there as well. And it was like Menachem was telling me that Shake is ambidextrous. He's either evil and good, because remember, he didn't let BB, he sort of let her go. You know what I mean? He let her go. So he's this bisexual something or other, whatever.
Okay. Okay. That I understand that. And by today's world, I'm like, this all makes complete sense. What I also found really hilarious is that is how they envisioned 1994 to be.
Yeah,
And
that's
having
it.
grown up and gone to high school in 1994, I was like, that's not quite, but then kind of, and especially like the TV show American Idol and things like that, and
Yeah.
just like I'm like the parallels of like, well, that they got right, and then some of the other stuff they're so far off. But I
No.
just found it really, really interesting. And then
And
I was also,
we shot it in 1978.
oh my goodness, that's the year I was born. Oh my goodness. What an interesting time to be alive and make movies. That's what I thought the whole time I watched it. What an interesting time to have been able to make movies and just have a budget and an idea and say, let's go. And what I really appreciated were the fully realized production numbers from start to finish in
Yeah.
throughout the whole thing. I really enjoyed it.
Well, you know who choreographed it? Did you ever see Pop Idol in the UK?
Yeah.
Nasty Nick, uh, John Lithgow, Lithgow. What was Lithgow's first name? Nick Lick. Anyway, he choreographed. He wouldn't tell anybody. Probably would tell somebody now that it's getting acclaim. He choreographed it. Lithgow. If you Google who Nat, what is it? Nick Lithgow, Nasty. If you
Nigel.
look, ask who, if you just Google who choreographed the Apple, that's the guy that went ahead and became the Simon, who was the Simon Cowell copied his persona to go into X Factor.
Nigel Lithgow.
Nigel Lithgow.
Nigel.
Nigel Lithgow. He was
And
Pop Idol, and
Oh, wow.
Simon Cowell sort of like copied his persona to take it to everything he's been doing since then.
I just saw Simon Cowell's, it's no longer, but those studios that I toured, I saw Simon Cowell's bathroom and bathtub. And I told the tour guide, I was like, what a queen. I was like, with this bathroom? I said, who's she fooling? But Kathy is the biggest Apple fan. I'll let her tell you about her obsession with you in this movie.
Oh, I mean, like I was saying, the character is just amazing. And I first saw the Apple presented by Peaches Christ in San Francisco during
Wow.
the show. So it was like it was a big gay affair. Just everybody was there and they had the costumes and they were doing the dances and everybody, it was just
Oh,
wild.
I'd
And of
love to
course,
go
I'm
to one
sitting
of
there
those.
watching this. Like I have, cult musical, cult movie level. I'm past like The Room is like at the base, and like The Apple is like the other end of the spectrum. And so I live up in here and this is just a perfect example of that.
And show
I
the
would
tattoo
love.
again.
What's that?
Show the tattoo again.
Oh, all right, all right. I'm not as
I would.
flexible. I mean, I graduated high school in 1995, which is a year after the future of the Apple. So there we
Yes.
go. My
Well, if
best
you
friend
ever,
and I, because we were at that showing of Peaches Christ with the Apple, we both got matching tattoos.
if you ever hear about one of those events, I'd love to come. I'd
Oh,
love to come. Yeah.
the Hollywood Theater in Portland showed the Apple about 2 years ago, and it
Oh,
was
wow.
a blast. Such a blast. I mean,
So
Love to
I
come.
do have a
you can't not
question.
have a blast if it's the Apple. I mean, the
That
audience
sounds
is
Right.
like
going to be
fun.
like electric.
The thing I wanted to ask was, you're immersed. We've been lucky enough to talk to quite a few cult musical stars, and you are a cult musical star. I mean, I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. You carry this entire movie. I mean, everybody's quite wooden in this movie, except you and Mr. Boogaloo. So I'm like,
Vladik.
you
I
two
want to hear
make
about
this.
Vladik. I
Well,
really want
Vladik
to hear
was
about you and Vladik.
Vladik was amazing. We had the most fun. We just had such an incredible time. He was like a honorary godfather to my daughter, Katrina. And we would just me and Vladik would sit up there and watch what they were doing, because what it was, I think the strange thing about it was Vladik wasn't English and I wasn't either. Do you know what I'm saying? But the rest of the company were. And like it was weird because I had sort of just gotten to the UK, and even the black kids in the company were like, ooh. I wasn't used to that. I wasn't used to that at all. In fact, I was talking with oh what is her name? The black girl, Pandy. I was
Oh,
talking
yeah.
to her about just a few weeks ago, actually, and we were talking about it. And they were all, even the very street ones were so buttoned up. And it's like I tell my friends in the hood, I said, look, there are black people there, but they're even more eloquent than you would ever hope to be. Even when they're cussing you out, they're lovely and eloquent. So I mean, I think with me and Vladik, we bonded because we were the outsiders. And I guess that was Menahem casting it, because we were supposed to be, outsiders, and a Russian and an American. So there we were.
But y'all carry this movie, I mean, with such elegance and humor. And there's some musicals that we talk about where like nobody's in on the joke. And I think when it comes with the Apple, I think you and Vlad are, how do you pronounce his name? Is it Vlad?
Vladik
Vlad.
Sable.
I'm just gonna call him Mr. Boogaloo. I think you and Mr. Boogaloo are the only ones in the movie that are in on the joke. You can tell that you're eating up the scenery. You can tell that you're in on the glamour and the humor of it. And sometimes when you watch these cult musicals that we love, some people are in on the joke. Other people aren't. Some people take it super seriously, but then there's characters in it that always compare it to like I'm gonna get my gay card taken away. Let me get it out of my wallet. Who played Crystal Connors in Showgirls? What is her name?
I can't tell you.
Y'all know she played Crystal
Yeah.
Connors,
Oh my goodness. And I'm blanking.
but she's the only one that's in on the joke in terms of Showgirls.
Oh,
So,
yes.
but with your character,
Gina
and
Gershon.
Gina
that's
Gershon.
it. That's
Gina
it. Gina
Gershon.
Gershon.
Yeah, that's my
But
movie.
it's sort of that same sort of spirit that I feel like you and Mr. Boogaloo are you sort of break the fourth wall, and in terms of your characters are the only one that
Yes.
get it.
Well,
Does
we
that
had
make sense?
Yeah. I mean, because me and Vladik would have lunch together, we'd be in makeup together, and we would look at what we had to do for that day and would just crack up. You know what I mean? And what we did try to do is try to play it as straight as we possibly could. Even trying to give a little bit of though it was never in the script, give a little bit of well, Vladik and Shake may have something going on a little bit. You know what I mean? You know,
Mhm.
you know that,
Got that.
not that we did. My wife would have killed me, but I mean, like, you could see that maybe, maybe Shake and Vladik might end up in bed a little bit, just a tiny, tiny bit. So we tried to do that. But we had a load of fun with Josh Ackland. Josh had just come off of, I think, Evita at that time, and George and Mary Stewart. They had I think that was their first films. In fact, like I said, Mary went to America and became this huge soap opera star. You know what I mean? And George, George's manager became my manager. So, uh, that happened. But what I should have done, in retrospect, is hindsight is 2020. I really should have gone to America. But the thing is, I didn't want to be in America. I escaped America, and the last thing I wanted to do was go back, especially to California. I was like, nah, mate, But I mean, like, I just feel that things that are for you will come to you eventually. So I'll catch up with Hollywood either as a writer or something. I'm cussing Lee Daniels because he bought the rights to my book Iced, and he's been fucking. Oh, excuse me.
No, you can say whatever you want on this.
He was supposed to be making this movie. He's had this rights to this movie for like 30 years. And I said, look, I was talking to him not too long ago. I said, look, would you please make this movie while I can still see? My kids were like toddlers when you first got the rights. They're like old women now, and if they're old women, I'm older. So it's been an amazing journey. I'm just look at Shake. Shake is cute. Look at him. Look
There's
at Shake.
something. I mean, I was 4 in 1994, and so you look back and you're like, I wish 1994 would have been this world. Don't
I
y'all agree?
also wish 1994 would have been this world.
I do too.
1994 was lit.
Right.
No,
1994 was. Go ahead.
I said, you mentioned your book Iced, and I wanted to mention that I had just finished that book last night. And so
Wow.
I love that you brought it up because I did have questions. Was there any plans to adapt it into maybe a limited series now that that's a thing? I saw that you had done a staged reading of it in the UK. Has there been any movement on a fully realized stage production of it?
Well, what's going to happen? We did the stage version, or excerpts from the stage version, on the 11th of February. It was like the day before I went to America, because my aunties were having like their 80th anniversary. If you email me your contact details and stuff, I'll send you a copy of the video, because we did a video.
Oh.
And the answer is there's 2 theaters that are interested in it, the Arcola Theater and the National Theater. So once we actually go and send it to them and raise some money and stuff like that, we are going to do a full version of it. Yeah, and Lee Daniels has had the film rights since 1999. And his options for the film is finished in October of this coming October. And if he doesn't start making the film, other people are interested in it. I would prefer it became a series, because you can get more of the book into it.
Yeah, it can go for seasons.
Yeah, because Samuel Jackson was interested in playing Cornelius, and I'm finishing up the sequel to Ice now. It's called Lateral Flow, and Cornelius has kicked crack, but he's 75 years old and addicted to other stuff like sugar. So I mean, I'm working on the sequel to it as we speak. Like, I should have a copy for my agents probably by the end of May, because I'm writing a BBC radio play. I've been doing a bunch of writing, BBC radio show about the Fifth Jubilee singers. So I've been blessed to have like a really varied career. And it's weird because Ice came about because I was on tour with the music of Andrew Lloyd Webber. Dame Arlene Phillips directed it. So while I was in the States, I went to, the kid in your neighborhood, your mama says, why can't you be like him? So that person had turned into a crack addict, and it just freaked me out so bad that I had to write about a fictionalized version as to what happened to this person. And it's given me a whole nother career. It's because I've written about 4 or 5 novels. So now it's like some people forget I even act and sing. I've been writing and shit. So, but that's good. It's good.
And to think that this little weird niche musical started it off. Well, not started it off because you were doing things before, but that's how you became, you're a really prolific writer and you've done all these stage credits. But I mean, Polly and I and Kathy Adair are here because of this role. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what does it mean? What does it mean to you that people associate you and love you because of Snake/Shake?
Well, I think for me, the most confusing thing about the whole thing is that a lot of people know about Shake. A lot of people know about Iced. A lot of people know about Starlight Express. A lot of people know about Miss Saigon, but they don't connect the dots to me, which is, in a
Right.
way, is kind of cool.
Right.
In a way, it's kind of cool because it gives me a chance to escape all of that. But I think at some point in time, the dots will be connected. But I'm how can I put it? I'm eternally grateful that, there is no such person as Ray Shell. There is no person. My name should have been Aris Lancaster, but my daddy didn't marry my mama because my mom was a party girl and his family was like, oh no, you can't marry her. So Ray was my friend's name. All my friends in the neighborhood was called Ray. Johnny Ray, Kenny Ray, and my name was Aris, which nobody could pronounce. I recall Aris, Ornus, Eunice, Anus, all kinds of shit. So when it came time to have a stage name, I said, I'm going to call myself Ray Shell because they wouldn't mispronounce it. It's easy to say, even though I do think now that Aris Lancaster sounds more like a movie star.
I love that. What do y'all think about his portrayal of Snake/Shake? What do you see within him in terms of the plot and the movie and the whole universe that the Apple created?
I'll let Polly go. Polly's like waiting. He's waiting. I could sense.
I mean, it's very much obvious, like what the character is supposed to be. I mean, we're essentially being given this biblical reinterpretation of Adam and Eve. You are the serpent. It is very much apparent. But you made some excellent points about like how you and Vladik were playing it and how it seemed like you guys sort of understood maybe a bit better than George and Mary, who played it very straight. And this is their first movies, but they're awkward in it. And I know that it was essentially your first film, but I think maybe you being the outsider with Vladik allowed you to play it in a camp way that not everybody else got. And that's what this movie to me is, just camp. And it's the best kind of camp that you can find in these kind of like genre musicals.
But when I saw the costumes, I mean, you couldn't do anything else. When I saw all those clothes, it was like, whoa.
How else are you going to play? You see like exactly what you're going to be in and like the stuff on the teeth. And it's like, and then like at the very end when they have you like in that snake cobra head, and it's just like, I knew it. Like he's the serpent. But I think with the performance that you're giving in it, I mean, it's definitely like, again, I keep going back to camp. It's almost like Batman 66, Adam West kind of.
Yeah.
Fun with this.
Well, the thing is, you never know when you're doing something that you're making some kind of history. And I had just become a daddy. My baby was in the next room, basically. My daughter Katrina, in fact, she just got through directing me in a play. So I mean, like I said, me and Vladik had we had, out of everybody that was there, I probably resonated more with Vladik because we were these two crazy people. We were in makeup together. That snake thing took like 5 hours to put that stuff on. Just so I mean, you do bond. I mean, I when the last film I did was I played it was Andra Day played Billie Holiday. It was a film called The United States versus Billie Holiday, and I played her junkie drummer, Carl. So when you're not on the set and when you are like getting into makeup and getting ready, there's a lot of bonding room. In fact, bonding time. Tyler James, who I don't know if you guys have seen Abbott Elementary.
Yes.
Or Everybody Loves Chris. He was in the Billie Holiday movie as well. wicked guy. So the times that you're not on camera, when you're actually making these connections and making all these bondings, it does help the chemistry when you're on camera. Because me and Vladek had most of our scenes, well, all of our scenes together. And I knew that what I was meant to be was his support. If it was going to go wrong, Shake was going to get his ass kicked, and if it was going to go right, then I'd be rewarded with another chew for my tooth or something. So, it was really, really, really cool just being able to just and Vladek that was like Vladek's God. He was a big movie star anyway. So to be performing with him and to be a part of that experience with him. So I knew that I had to raise my chops just to be able to keep up with him, because Vladek could chew up scenery by himself. The man was amazing. God rest his soul.
He was a Bond villain. I mean, like I love the James
Yeah.
Bond film. He was one of the first faces I noticed. Like,
Yeah.
Boogaloo, that's the
Yeah.
dude. So
Yeah, Bond villain, and also he was in Ken Russell's The Boyfriend, which I
Yeah.
love him in,
Yeah.
as a very similar character, this sort of
Twiggy.
Machiavellian guy. Just amazing.
That's the Twiggy musical, right? The Boyfriend.
That's the Twiggy one. Yep.
But since this is a musical, I mean, Helena and I have chatted about this. The 80s were not a cool time to make a movie musical. All the glam of the 60s and the 70s of the musicals started to sort of dissipate. And in the 80s, like, musical movies were not considered cool. But most of our favorite cult musicals come from the 80s. But you said that you all started filming this in 78. Because it's a musical, and because it was written by someone whose first language was not English, what did you think of all this weird types of music? Like, you've got disco, you've got rock, you've got reggae, you've got everything thrown together for this musical.
Well, I thought that since we were shooting in Berlin, we were coming to the end of the 70s. We didn't know what the future was going to be.
Mhm.
And I think that Berlin was the kind of city which encapsulated all this newness, all this futuristic stuff. And the people that actually, I love what they did with the design. I love what they did with the costumes. So we said, let's go for it, baby. Because we had to make it look. We had our mission was to make it look as if we lived within that time that thing was happening, and all I couldn't let those clothes wear me. I had to wear those clothes and have a reason for wearing those clothes. And then when Boogaloo's clothes were just as fabulous. So we had to inhabit those bodies and inhabit those characters. So all the music went along with it. And Berlin at that time was such an amazing city. It was an amazing city to just to be filmed in. They had this place called the High Fly Cafe, which was I hadn't been to Amsterdam before, but this was a place after we finished filming, we could go to the High Fly Cafe and play backgammon and smoke all the dope we wanted to. Oops.
Nice.
With the American army people were there because the Berlin Wall had just come down. So there was Americans were stationed there. So I had a good ass time, baby. It was very, very cool. And just like I said, it was the perfect place to shoot it because Berlin already sent the Americans everybody had bombed the hell out of them. They had built it up into this futuristic, even now it looks really, really futuristic. Those weren't sets, those buildings that we went into. Those were the buildings that were there.
Yeah.
And the Germans have always been wonderfully eccentric.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that sort of the world of the Apple fits greatly within that. Helena?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I'm thinking about that wonderful station wagon that they retrofitted with the bubbles on top. I love the production design of this because it's so gloriously just cheap. It's just wonderfully plastic, and I salute that. Use your creativity, use your tiny budget, and
Yes.
yes, I was gonna ask about the one thing I wanted to definitely ask you about was, were you involved in the ill-fated opening scene? which was like the menagerie of animals and actors, where Mr. Topps is first introduced. Of course, that scene gets cut because you only see Mr. Topps at the end as a sort of deus ex machina. But I was wondering if you were around for that opening scene.
The one where everybody's playing all these weird animals and stuff like that.
Well, they had actual animals. They had gotten like tigers and elephants and shit. And I guess that everything just went haywire and they had to cancel shooting the scene.
Well, no, I didn't know anything about that. I mean,
Okay.
I know that we had uh there was a lot of production that happened before us as the company arrived there.
Mhm.
The closest we came to that was the hell scene where the apple, the number of the apple,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
was set. And I think what made, and maybe I wasn't the reason why they cut that scene out. Maybe it was because the animals wouldn't cooperate.
Well, that's why they cut it, is the animals were like crapping everywhere and like running
Yeah,
around, and it was
that was
just
the
really
creation scene. The creation. Oh yeah.
creation scene. Yes. Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Maybe
The
it wasn't
crapation.
my fault. No, I wasn't. They shot that. They shot that without us.
Okay.
And I think what was happening, they were supposed to have shot that. In fact, I don't even know if I don't know if they even had green screens back there. But I think what it was meant to be was they were shooting all these animals, and then they would place us in that. But it never happened.
Mhm. Okay. That's too
It
bad.
just sounds
I love the
like
apocryphal imagery of them like Golan being there with all of this going on and just going crazy. I love that idea.
it's just an
He was really.
explosion.
I mean, Monahim Golan, and they were a really, how can I put it, very astute team, because they'd had a big hit with I think it was called Lemon Popsicle, I think it
Yeah,
was.
yeah. That went on to become not
Uh,
last, it was Last American Virgin in the
Yeah,
US.
yeah.
Yeah.
But he was very astute, very patient. He appreciated if he liked what you did, he let you know that he did. And usually I was able to get my stuff done in maybe one or two takes. And I want to do it again. And, no, Ray, we got it, Ray, we got it. I'm going, okay, David. So I mean, and what I loved about it, the whole team that he brought his entire team from Israel. It was a totally Israeli team. And our cinematographer, David, because I've seen the movies and he did an amazing. It looks incredible, just in terms of the way he actually shot the thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I think what he was trying to do as well, like stuff with uh coming, the number coming. He tried to play on different kinds of cultural motifs that was happening. That was most definitely the Donna Summer kind of
To
basically,
Love You Baby. Yeah.
yeah, doing those video things before they even actually got to MTV. Because we were doing this before MTV happened. So it's I'm reading Barbara Streisand's memoir at the moment. It's 1,000 pages. And it's really interesting how the way they made movies back in the day, and what movie making is like now. And I would say that Menahem and his team actually, in fact, we started filming in, I think it was September, because it was right before my birthday, and we finished in December.
Yeah, he was a professional filmmaker. He
Yeah,
was
we got
able to
all
get
that
on
stuff,
stick.
bunch of that, and he kept most of that stuff in. In fact, Miriam Margolis, who probably won't even admit to being in the movie,
I love her in this.
she probably won't even admit, because she's become this grande dame right now.
Well, I'm sorry, at the end she doesn't get raptured with all the hippies. She should be raptured she should go up to the limousine because she's great. She's just lovely.
I think we shot that before she came. Because what was so weird about it, we since we started in September, we had to shoot all that park stuff before it got cold, before the
Right.
leaves left. So I
Makes
was asking,
sense.
I was like, Menahem, child, it's cold. Why are we shooting? He said, you'd rather shoot it now than to shoot it in December. And he was right. It got
Yeah.
so that was
Berlin
the first stuff.
winters.
That was the first stuff we shot. So because we had to have the leaves, it had to look like it was, this big garden, blah, 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 blah. So we shot that first.
Well, I'm sorry, the
I would-
landlady is just the opening question that I have at the end of this movie. I have no other questions other than what happened to the landlady?
She wasn't there.
I would love to go to Berlin and see. I'm sure things have changed, of course, but I would love to go see little places where the apple were filmed, but it doesn't look like it's filmed in September or I mean, I got a summer vibe from it. I guess because
Yeah.
when I always watch it as the summer.
Yeah.
What?
I always
Not a
think
Donna
it's like
summer.
it's like the brutalist musical because it's like all of these wonderful brutalist buildings and all that cement and everything. Then you have all these crazy, colorful, sparkly costumes and stuff. That's what I love about this. It's like it's obviously that's like a train station, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was. I know that the number show business is in that whole big place. That
Mhm.
the one that all the kids are running into. That was the actual lobby of this building. And it was amazing what Nigel did in terms of the staging of it and the choreography of it. I mean, whoever did their recce and actually who designed it, that Berlin was the perfect place to shoot this film.
Oh my
Absolutely
God,
perfect.
yeah.
Mhm.
Because this is a musical and we're musical fanatics, what do y'all think about the music in this garish, beautiful, wonderful, fabulous movie? Polly, Helena, and Darren, what do y'all think about the music?
Almost every song is an earworm. And that's a good thing. It's this interesting, like almost like a quilt of different genre.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
And again, like sort of like a taste of what's to come in the 80s. Because again, this is like at 70s. So you do have disco flavored, music like the BIM march at the beginning of the movie, but you have some folk, you have some reggae. It's really just again this fascinating concoction, and
and the man who wrote it, strangely enough, he has a very famous name, George Clinton.
yes,
He's
it's
he's
not been true,
Israeli. Yeah, he's Israeli.
yeah,
You know
and
what I mean? Lovely guy. And the thing is, he he actually came up with the concept and the story. So I mean, I think what like I said, they would have had to record the music like in a year before we started, 1977. Do you know what I mean? And for them to have, because I got to tell you, when we first heard the music, I was like, ugh. I was like, I was because it wasn't chic. It wasn't like my friends were chic and but as time passed, I began to understand that what it did have was all those cultural elements of that music at that time. You know what I mean? So it's lasted. I mean the fact that I'm talking to you now and you guys appreciate it. For a while I didn't even what's the word? Not that I didn't acknowledge because I appreciate everything I'd done, but I couldn't see it since it didn't happen and explode back when it first came out. I thought that was all over. It was the end of it. But the
It's
great thing
not.
the great thing about time is that The Wizard of Oz wasn't a big movie when it first came out.
There you go.
Mhm. Neither was The Wiz, which I
Neither was The
appreciate The
Wiz.
Wiz.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Helena and Darren, what do y'all think about this menagerie, this collection of different? I mean, I wonder when Polly was talking, it really predates Xanadu because Xanadu had a
Woo!
different
Okay.
genres of music.
So yes, so you know what? Xanadu the musical. I had a friend in it on Broadway, so I saw it in the front row. It was one of my favorite musicals on Broadway. So when I saw this, I thought to myself, "Oh my goodness, this has Xanadu vibes to it." And I keep going back to that term, chaos magic. It's just like this hodgepodge of different types of music and different people, and it's just all swirled into one. And I love that Polly called it an earworm. That's a great way to describe the songs, especially what is it, the National BIM Hour. It just gets in your ear and will not leave. And I think that's what kept me watching and just going, oh my goodness, how much more interesting can this get? How much more of a deep dive musically can we go? Is this woman really seducing this man? Did she just Bill Cosby him in this music? Oh my goodness, what am I watching? All in a musical. So yeah.
Yeah, totally. I'm gonna do a Helena hot take, which is I think the music in this is wonderfully awful, and I love it. I think it's just
Yes.
awful, and I listen to it, and I jam with it, I vibe with it, but I love it for its just general awfulness. I mean, the I'm Coming song, Jesus Christ. I mean,
No subtlety at all.
I don't no, not even subtle at all. Just and then the dancing and the choreography and the beds and the costumes and the lack of costumes and
Yeah.
just
That's what makes it so endearing is the mistranslation or the translation from Israeli
Oh.
to English, you know?
Yeah.
exactly.
But I think that's what
Exactly.
makes it endearing. Like my favorite song in the entire
Yes.
movie is You're Made for Me. And there's
Made for
all
me,
those
yes.
people. I love that. And I love you and Mr. Booglu's song Show Business. And then can we please talk
Yes.
about the reggae to be a master?
To be a master, yes. Yes,
Amasa,
Think
master.
about that.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, like that was so much fun. I mean, I was thrilled too because I hadn't met the Starlight, I hadn't met Lloyd Webber, and so this was my first, if I remember right, it was my first movie soundtrack. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, so when we did
I'm not
Master,
sorry. I mean, it's good, but I'm also sorry.
so I mean, like to be able to do that, I think that I'd gotten married, I just had my baby. In fact, I had to send my ex-wife home because, you know, she was working in the doing the makeup and stuff like that. Sharita, she was doing makeup and stuff, and they had given us a cot for my daughter to lay in, and we were at the hotel one night, and my daughter was very active, like she is now, and she had sort of got her face stuck into the cot and couldn't turn herself over. And if we had left her in my dressing room, I probably wouldn't be talking to you right now. That would have been a disaster. So I said to my baby, I said to Sharita, you know, look, one of us, we can't have my baby here with all those fumes, that makeup, and it was toxic. So she went home. She never got to finish the movie, which was a shame. But I had to put my foot down as daddy and say, look, you can't kill my baby. You can't. So it was all those things that were happening at the same time. My first film, all that stuff. So I mean, like, I got a quick, what's the word? A quick baptism of fire until about the selfishness of this business. You know, the selfishness of this business.
Well, that was Golan and Globus too. He's like, they love film, but they wanted their things, it was like,
Yeah,
let's get on, let's make
let's get
money,
on.
let's turn it.
Yeah,
I mean, this was a passion project for Golan, I believe.
yeah, it
And
was.
he was so into it that when it failed, I heard he was going to commit suicide.
No, he was, because the thing is, I just don't think I wasn't in L.A. when it happened. We were invited, and he just knew that it was going to do wonders. But
Yeah.
what I think what we all failed to realize was the context and the time that this film was being put in. And I tend to think that during that time, I don't, if I remember, the relationships between, it shouldn't have meant anything, but the relationships between the United States and Israel is kind of like what's happening now. You know,
Yeah.
Menachem Begin, I think it was, and it's like Hollywood is very, very Hollywood. If you ain't coming in there, if you're not a Hollywood baby, and it's showing something that it's exalting Hollywood, even if it's great, their attitude is like, well, how dare you come in here and show us how to do it?
But you know what? And I will say this about the Apple, and I've always said this about the Apple. There is a theme within the Apple that is recurring in many cult musicals. Phantom of the Paradise, The Apple, Shock Treatment, and Rock and Roll are all about how evil the music industry is. And I
Yes.
think that's why people didn't get it. I mean, all of those four musicals, like I said, Phantom of the Paradise, The Apple, Shock Treatment, and Rock and Roll are all about demonic music executives who try to take advantage of people who tried to get into the Hollywood mainstream music industry. And maybe it's too close for home for people.
Well, the thing too, and what it is, it's actually now fulfilling that prophecy. I mean, look what's happening with P. Diddy right now.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
that's
Ooh.
You know what I
literally
mean?
happening in real life. You're right. You're
You know what I
absolutely
mean? It's like because I had I still, write and produce music and stuff like that, but I did it over here. I did it over here. In fact, something I'll tell you right now. I auditioned before I came here. I don't know if you know Garrett Morris. Garrett Morris was
Yep.
like one of the first black,
I know
well, was
it.
the only black person on Saturday Night Live,
SNL.
back in the day. And he was leaving, and they didn't know if they wanted to have. Let me turn some lights on so I could see. They didn't know if they wanted to have a black actor, a black actor who could be funny, or a comedian. So I went up for it. My agent set me up for it, and then I got down to the last two. It was between me and this other guy. You know who the other guy was?
Mm-mm.
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy. Oh wow.
Eddie Murphy.
Oh my
So when I see Eddie Murphy, the motherfucker, you owe me a job. And the thing, it was perfect for him, because he was a 19-year-old streetwise guy, but he knew about me and John Belushi. I would have died with John Belushi. Let's put it that
Okay.
way. I was a church boy, open to everything. It's like
Right.
open to everything. In fact, I toured with the Police and sang backup for them on their Synchronicity album right before Starlight Express. And I remember going. I will say this on camera. I remember.
You can, honey.
Uh,
Not judging you. We think
Stuart
it's cool.
Copeland. Me and Stuart were like the two Americans on the tour. So Stuart, every city we went to, Stuart would say, "Ray, don't buy no drugs, don't buy anything. I'll take care of you." So every time we went to a city, Stuart would give me this big ass shopping bag with all the dope you could ever think. As you can tell, I love to smoke marijuana. That's about it. I do not do any of the other things. Anyway, they would have these parties with Godley and Cream. And Godley and Cream were like the video makers of that decade. So we'd go to these parties, and I'd get to the door, and they would say, "Present left nostril," and I did. And they'd say, "Present right nostril," and I did. The Lord sent my ass home, because I can remember going back to my hotel room and just shaking. So Hollywood was not the place that I had to grow up before I could deal with Hollywood. I could deal with Hollywood now, but then, So I don't know what would have happened if Shake would have went to Hollywood when he wanted to go to Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? And I tend to think what you're saying about the industry, not just the music industry, but just look at all this stuff about what's his name?
Weinstein.
Chris Rock. Just the Hollywood entertainment machine. If you're not strong, you're not going to survive it. And very few people do.
But I'm so glad that you have that experience, because yes, the Apple is glamorous and over the top and campy and cheeky, but there's so much truth to it.
Yeah.
And I tell people, like, underneath all the glamour and the glitz, actually see what these musicals are trying to say. And it predicted not only the world that we live in, but it's kind of sad that we're still sitting here talking about how relevant it is. Because if anything, the Apple really is super relevant. I mean, about the whole, I don't know about the satanic angle, but about like people selling their metaphorical souls for a bite of the apple, no pun intended.
Owning everything and running the world.
Yes.
Mhm.
Hello.
Well, the thing about it is too, just in terms of the music and what the music is now. I mean, I listen to American music over here, and I cannot believe what these girls are singing about right now. Cardi B and Fat White. What is it? Wet pussy. I'm going like, oh my god.
Yes,
I'm
pussy.
like, oh my god. Or hit this little wet brown spot. I'm going like, they're outdoing the men. They are outdoing the men. I'm going like,
So I'm
oh
wondering,
my
it's like the music
God.
industry used to be awful, and now the lyrics are awful, and the music industry is better. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and the thing is, now that they've got Spotify happening, and when people like Snoop Dogg can say, I'm giving them a billion. You're going to tell me a billion streams will not get me $1 million? So I feel like the fact that I stayed in the UK, met the Starlight and Lloyd Webber and all these other people that I worked with, saved my life.
And I don't want to harp too much on that, but I will just leave this as a final point about this particular point, is that unlike Phantom of the Paradise and Rock and Roll and Shock Treatment, in the Apple, there's redemption for the people who get caught up in the music industry. Whereas those other musicals, the people fall victim to it or they escape it. But I will say that I know it's a very deep movie and it's very religious, but at the same time, there's something really sort of endearing about it. It's that, Alfie and BB escape all this and they go to heaven in a, what is it, a Corvette or a Cadillac?
Rolls Royce.
I call it
It's
I
a
call it the
Rolls.
interstellar pimp mobile is what I call that.
I hope to God if there is a rapture, I go to heaven in a Rolls Royce. I'd be mad if I don't. But like,
The thing is,
I will
it's like that was like our what I called our Grease moment because as you
Okay.
Yeah.
that car
Yep.
it
Okay.
goes up. But
Like-
I remember us being inside that park, and it was as cold as hell. And I didn't have no clothes on, and I would go like, "Child, please." And they were saying, look up, keep looking up, keep. I said, "We're looking up. Shoot this thing, girls. So I can go home." It was cold as hell out there. I know it looked like it made me look like it was summer, but it was cold.
I bet you didn't know I bet you didn't tell you fully what you were supposed to be looking at either.
No, 'cause
Oh.
we had no idea what they were gonna do. No,
Oh, boy.
Imagine a big stretch Ford
Oh
LTD,
boy.
big fucking lights in front, and Todd gets out of it and walks down to you.
They don't even go in the car though. They all walk with the
we all
car.
walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
It's like, are
walked
they
in-
following
This
the
is
car up to heaven? Is it like a
Mr.
clown
Cox.
car where they just keep piling in?
I love
Yeah.
it. But I know the Apple came and went and not anymore. It's had a resurrection, no pun intended. But how did the Apple? Because right after the Apple, Apple released in 1980. I mean, Starlight Express was a huge deal, and it's still a
Yeah.
huge deal. It's coming back. How did your experience making this musical movie set you up for? I know you may have some different mixed emotions and different reactions about the Apple, but how did it sort of boost you and help you creatively in terms of being a musical theater?
Well, the thing about it is, it's weird. I tell people I went to Emerson College in Boston. I studied straight acting. I went to school with Jay Leno. In fact, me and Jay Leno we were in the same class, the same year. And the weird thing about it, neither one of us was at school. He was off doing his comedy, and I was off running around the country with Hair and the Me Nobody Knows with Irene Cara. So Emerson,
Oh, love Irene
Yeah.
Cara.
love her too, babe. I'm so sorry that she's gone. Anyway, so I had a theater background already. And I remember when I had thought after the Apple that I had my two daughters. I was teaching acting and singing at a place called the Pineapple Studios in London. Arlene Phillips was there. The Hot Gossip was there. Charles, the man that actually went on to choreograph Five Guys named Mo and directed, Charles Organs was there. So I had thought to myself, okay, acting and all that stuff ain't gonna happen for me. I'm here just to be able to take care of my babies. I taught Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. No, in fact, I did it this way. I taught Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So I had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. And I had given up the business. Really, I had thought, well, I guess that isn't for me. I was happy with my children. I was happy with my wife and everything. And one day I walked out of my studio, and right on the wall in my studio said, "Wanted, very young people for Andrew Lloyd Webber's new musical Starlight Express workshop." And I was like, on roller skates. And I was like, oh, fuck, why can't that man write something we could just walk and sing? Why do I have to be, because I'd auditioned for Cats and couldn't dance to that. That Cats had like group AAA to like group GGG. I was in dance group FGG. So I went, the worst of the worst. So I said that the choreographer, I said, damn, don't you have roles for crippled cats or something? So she said no. Anyway, so I told my kids, my students, I said, you should go and audition for this show. You're very young. You guys are young. Go have an audition. So one of my students, a guy called Ricky Welford, came back and said, Mr. Shell, you're always telling us to go to these auditions. Why don't you go? And I said, okay. I went home and talked to my wife, and I had a pair of roller skates because I was also at that time signed to EMI Records, but that's a whole nother story. Kate Bush wrote my first single, but that's a whole nother story. Anyway, I had these skates. So I said to my wife, I said, look, I'm going to go to audition, but I wasn't going to tell my students that that I was going to audition because I figured if I didn't get the part, they wouldn't want me to teach. They wouldn't want me to continue teaching them. Why should you have a fucking teacher who can't even get a job? You know what I mean? So I went down there. I had 4 auditions, and then after the 4th audition, Andrew Lloyd Webber and Trevor Nunn came up and put their arms around me, and I said, fuck, they're gonna tell me no nicely." And they offered me the role, and it changed my entire life. I mean, it really, really did. We did the workshop with in fact, the first Pearl is what is her name? She went to America and became this huge comedy star. Oh, what is her name? I can't. I'll think of it. It'll come to me. But Starlight. It just so I the only thing I was afraid of in Starlight was that I was gonna hurt myself because it was all fucking roller skates. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was like I was Rusty No, because anytime they'd ask me something to do and it was too, I would say, I ain't doing that. Sorry, I can't. In fact, if you see the show, if you ever seen the show, Rusty pushes the trains onto this. Our first entrance was on this bowl, this ramp that was about 10 feet tall. We had to enter. That was the only way you had to get on that stage was with this bowl. Rusty was supposed to lead it. I was supposed to be first, and they were supposed to come after me. And I said, baby, they're gonna fall on my ass. They're not gonna knock me down. So I said, Trevor, can I please push them out? Wouldn't that be more interesting? Rusty working, pushing them out. So that's how I got into the show. So I think what it was that I had, in fact, I just saw these kids. We had no idea what the show was going to turn into. In fact, we didn't know what the set was going to look like until toward the end of our rehearsal. We had to learn the show first on the flat, in rehearsal, flat, and then we went to the set and had to learn it again. We were in rehearsal for it took 3 months. Most shows take 6 weeks. We were in rehearsal for 3 months because we had to skate it on the floor, then learn how to do it on the set, and then learn how to do it all those costumes and stuff on. I think what the Apple did was like I saw the fantasticness of set lights, costumes in the Apple and the futuristicness of it. And Starlight was a whole nother world. So I was able to take what we had actually done in the Apple and be able to make my creation of this steam train a living, breathing thing, because Shake was fantastical as well as a character, and Rusty was even more so. And I think the only thing that sort of all the other kids had all these flashy, gleaming costumes, and I had this brown costume. I said, "Well, his name is Rusty, isn't it?" So,
And I will say something about you being in that. I mean, when I toured the studios, what is it, a couple of days ago, I was talking to the guy who was giving me a tour about Starlight opening there. And I was like, what do y'all look for in terms of actors? And this says a lot about you and anybody who's ever been in. He said, it doesn't matter how good they sing. It don't matter how good they dance. It don't matter how good they look. They got to be able to skate too. If they can't skate, they're out.
yeah.
That's a lot of pressure probably in an audition.
Well, yeah, it was. I mean, and the thing about it is, the thing about it is, what happened after we established what I call a skating style. That style was actually inputted. It became the yardstick for the Bochum Germany production, which is still running. And I will say the only difference between us and what they're doing now is that I was not hired because I could skate. I was specifically hired because I could act it and sing it. Seriously. And then they taught us how to skate. You know what I mean? We had skating classes for 3 friggin' months. Every single friggin' day was skating. It was like, oh God, Jesus Christ, superstar. But it had to be done. And not only do we have to learn how to skate, like I said, on that stage, we had all these hills and valleys and bridges and all this other kind of stuff. And the set in Bochum in Germany was even bigger than the one in London. So, but if you can imagine, it was like going to work in a theme park. It was
And
fun.
then the rest is
fun.
history after Starlight Express.
Yeah. I mean, if you weren't having fun with it, then you didn't need to be there, you know. So, like, I think Starlight sort of paved the way for all those other shows, and Miss Saigon, and Lion King, and all these other,
Xanadu.
yeah,
Ooh,
yeah,
yes.
all the shows that I did after that. So I think, how can I put it? Emerson, I'd say Emerson helped me a lot because it was the little school that couldn't. Now Emerson owns a lot of Boston, but back when I went there, we had the little pumpkin theater, and I think the teachers in there just, as you can see, what happened to what was his name? I'm old now. The guy I went to school with. What's his name?
Leno.
Leno, Jay. You see
Jay
what
Leno.
you see with his career. That school was about being individual. That school was about being not afraid, basically. That school was about taking chances. That school was about just being open to whatever that's coming. And I think that Emerson sort of instilled that in me. I mean, again, I would go back and see Starlight Express and go, I must have been fucking nuts. I hit this little finger on that stage. I had to have electrolysis to get this girl working again. And I said to myself, God, imagine if that was my head. It was dangerous. It was, I mean, whew, but that's what musical theater has turned into. Obviously, the shows, Back to the Future is a big show. The shows got bigger, and Hadestown is a big show. In fact, that's the only show I really wanted to do. I wanted to do Hadestown. Andre got to do that. But I mean, I think all of those shows, but Emerson actually, going back to Emerson, imbued in me the sense that I could do whatever it is that I thought I could do. And I think Hair helped that as well. I was one of the youngest people in Hair at that time, but because we had to play all these different roles and they switched it up every single night and just threw you on, you had to develop a sense of was not so much awareness as I can do this. Because if you couldn't do it, you're going home. So it's kept me through. I'm 72 now, but it's kept me through my life. It stayed with me, that sense of I can do this and I'm gonna do this. So I mean, it right now it's like I'm waiting for the next huge thing that's gonna come, and I feel it and all that kind of stuff. But I'd still like to be a movie star.
Well, you are in our hearts. This is
Yes.
a crazy question, but did you ever hear or do you ever hope? So I guess a combination of hope or hear. Have you ever heard some rumblings or hope there'll be some sort of stage adaptation of The Apple? Was that ever a plan?
You're the first person that's ever mentioned that. That's interesting. I would love for us to do it. Vladik is not alive, but I would love to do a sequel.
Yes.
Shake-
Where do you think these people would be? Because I mean, they're all in heaven.
Yeah.
Well, Shake and Boogaloo didn't go up. We didn't go up there. But I would tend to think that in that world, it would be great to actually encompass that world with the new kind of Spotify. I'd say Shake is probably the lead, the king of the algorithms.
Oh yeah,
I
he's
could
like
see
the
that.
main influencer.
That's a great concept.
Yeah, the main influencer. You know what I mean? And I tend to think that whole Spotify thing is how can I put it? It's the same. It runs on the same premise, premises that we're gonna find the next big thing,
Mhm.
but we're gonna make you have to, get your because they don't even look at you unless you have a few million stats anyway. If you haven't done the work to get the audience, they don't even give a shit. I mean, back in the day,
How many
Go-
heartbeats are you getting?
yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly. What are you going to do? And if you can get all those heartbeats, then we'll help you get to the next level. We'll do a Beyonce on you. You know what I mean? So I mean, I think Shake he'd be on this show, but he'd also be on what is it? He'd be on the internet. He would be a big influencer with the same. He'd be the same, not the same style, even more futuristic style. But he'd be like Simon Cowell.
This is a
That's-
weird question, and I know this is so. Go ahead, probably so. I know this is I'll open it to all of y'all. I know this is a weird question, and it's so obvious. But why do you think? What's the director and writer's name?
Golan.
Yeah.
Menahem
Why
Golan?
do you? Yeah. Why do you think they had veiled names instead of Satan and God? Why do you think they did Mr. Tops, Mr. Boogaloo, Snake Shake? You think it was just to keep our minds open and make it universal? Or do you think there's something they were scared to go down that route? But what do y'all think is the reason that he was very clever about using those names versus the biblical names?
Well, I tend to think that since he was Israeli, and because he was mixing a whole lot of elements, biblical elements, and don't forget this was right after Jesus Christ Superstar sort of opened in New York, and we got banned and protested, and I think that he didn't want that to happen before the movie even got a chance to live, got a chance to be seen, and with I think what he was hoping was that the dance and the dancers and the dance element of it would take him through all that stuff. And I tend to think that not putting an overtly religious slant on it would give the script room to breathe with all those non-religious elements like the drugs, because the BIM marks, which is the mark of the beast, I mean, and all those other elements as well. And I tend to think that he wanted the people who were watching it. I think if the Apple came out now, it would probably do better because now we're in supposedly the last days. Israel is at war. So I think that it would probably do a lot better. Back then in the 70s, everything was so far away from where we are now, and also too at that time, AIDS wasn't such a huge thing, but it was starting to get there. So I tend to think that what they were trying to do is trying to be as safe as they possibly could to not kill the marketing and to bring in the kids that they thought would see it. And the kids never got to see it because they slammed it down before before they actually could take off and do something.
And they can make so many excuses for why this movie didn't do well with this and that. But a part of me, I don't know, just thinks that they saw beneath the garishness and the fabulousness of what the Apple was saying. And I think they saw that y'all are kind of exposing them and turning the mirror on a lot of stuff.
And like I said, we weren't Menahem and George Clinton and all those. They weren't from that circle. They weren't from that pond. They had spent their own money. I remember when Menahem would come and have these suitcases full of cash. I mean, to pay us. Big ass suitcases. So it wasn't. They weren't. They didn't owe. How can I put it? They didn't owe anybody anything. They didn't owe
And they
anybody.
weren't owned. And they
They
weren't
could do
owned by
whatever
them.
the hell they wanted.
Exactly.
And that gets into the same vanity project that James and I have discussed about before, is whenever it's a vanity project, shit goes off the rails in the most wonderful ways because there is no oversight. And that's what makes these movies so fun.
Yeah.
It is. It's a great. Do y'all have any further questions for our fabulous co-host or any flowers you want to give him?
I feel
Well, I
like
want to ask. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm taking over. I don't want to take over, but I have one last question that I have to ask you. And that is, did you say you didn't attend the premiere?
No.
No, because I heard at the premiere that they handed out copies of the soundtrack.
And
And
people
the
threw it.
apocryphal story is that people just didn't like the movie so much they were throwing the soundtrack at the screen, and they were like ripping the screen to shreds with the copies of the soundtrack.
That's what I heard as well. I did. In fact, Mary Stewart told me that.
Oh.
Yeah.
I would be like scooping up those copies of the soundtrack and like taking them away with me. I'd be like, this is the best thing ever.
I had to find it bootleg. I had to find that. I got obsessed with the Apple the same summer I got obsessed with Earth Girls Are Easy and the pirate movie. And that was my cult musical summer. And I had my same friend watch the same movies, and we used to quote the Apple ad nauseum. I love the Apple, especially like some of the things that you used to do. You used to be like, I remember you got slapped and you're just like, I love it. It's just so fat. And then you have diamonds on your teeth.
Yeah, I had these grills before the grill thing came on, and I always imagined that the fingernail polish I had was drugs. So I was always sniffing it to get a little high on it. But I just have a question for the brother that said he just read Ice. I just want to find out what do you think about it?
I was riveted. I'm still shaking from it and left speechless. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Well, I just wanted to make a little. This is iced, and if you actually, if you're when you guys do the PR for this or whatever, just please mention it and say please get Rachel's new book
Absolutely.
iced.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I would love to talk about it on my other podcast where I would love to talk about it, a deep dive with you at some
Yeah,
point if you'd like
I'm
to.
I'm available. That's what I'm promoting at the moment. So
Okay, okay,
call me.
okay. It's
And
on
you said
Audible.
that's
Yeah.
that's based on
That,
your real experiences of when you went back to America.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not about. There is no one Cornelius. What I did, I went and I talked to crack addicts all over the city, all over the country, because we were in a different city every week, and they were everywhere. This was at the height of the crack addiction. But what was really interesting, I just got back from America 2 weeks ago because I had to go see family, and crack is not on the front pages anymore, but fentanyl is in the front pages anymore
right,
now,
right.
and it's really, really interesting that the association with crack, even though all kinds of people took crack, it wasn't just black people and poor people, all kinds of people, presidents and all kinds of stuff. But now this fentanyl, it seems as if it's a drug that, whereas crack people were demonized as criminals and lowlifes, the people that take fentanyl are basically have mental health issues.
Yes.
And I'm like,
Homeless mental health. Yeah, it's big in Portland.
and I'm like, well, those people that took crack had mental health issues as well, deep ones.
Yeah.
So I mean, America's just in a very weird place right now. I mean, it's I can't understand, and I'm not. I would say I'm an independent voter. Who for me, whoever has the best ideas has the best ideas. But at the same time, I do believe that there has to be something about the person who's supposed to be president of the United States, and I can't believe that for me it's never all about the money and all about that. And it's like, how do you trust the person without saying any names, that I don't even look at I can't even listen to this guy when he does his what do you call it, interviews, because you can never tell if he's telling the fucking truth or not. And I'm just like, how did America? And I tell people that one of the reasons why this person, I call him Trump Flakes. I call him Trump Flakes. The reason why this guy actually became president, because at the time they didn't know any other candidates except for Hillary. He'd been on television, so they thought they knew this guy. They thought they knew him.
The reality TV stars.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And shock treatment, the apple. I mean, it's all comes full circle.
And
It
then
does.
I mean,
It really does. Oh my
I
gosh.
I just can't believe it. So I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm very happy to live here in the United Kingdom.
Take
It's
us with you.
crazy here too, but still, But I'm hoping and I'm hopeful. I think Biden scared everybody when he came out and did that State of the Union. I was in America when I was like, "Go on, baby, go on, girl," because they had him down. They didn't think he was going to actually say anything. They thought he was going to die on. And I do believe that Biden was playing a game. He wanted people to think that so he could go in there and snare it up. Nobody's perfect, but at the end of the day, I do believe whoever becomes president of the United States should have at least something. Pretend they have a character.
Little
Yes.
integrity, maybe. Yeah.
Just a little bit of,
Just pretend like you do.
And you have integrity.
But then
I just-
again, with politics, every cult musical that we love predicted the world. Always say like, like people look at the Apple and Shock Treatment and Rock and Roll and Phantom of the Paradise, and I'm always like, I feel like these cult musicals forewarned us about the world we're gonna live in, but people still don't.
Absolutely.
People still don't get it, and they bypass these musicals. But I would
Mhm.
argue the world we live in now is much scarier than any musical could ever
Oh.
predict.
baby.
Oh,
It's like I've just become, and then they're talking about banning TikTok. And
mhm.
what's so weird about it, the only reason why they want to ban it is because the young people are now have a chance to show young people from all over the world, from all over. I've only become a TikToker about a year ago, and what I would say, oh my God, this is a microcosm of everything that's happening in the world and all these different countries. And the thing about it is, the young people of today in every pocket of the world, they're not going to go through this. They ain't having the same shit that we went through. They'd rather die. I mean, really die than to go through all this nonsense, this bullshit. And I tend to think they want to ban it because different people have found a way of making money. And instead of playing all these, working all these damn jobs and stuff like that,
Right.
I couldn't even see my daughter because she's working. Nobody cooks anymore. They don't have time. You know what I mean? And the thing about it is, it's so much money in the United States. People shouldn't have to work. All of course, the unemployment rates are going down because people got to work, and work some of their damn jobs just to keep their lives together. It's ridiculous. And now with TikTok, they've been able to find things that they love and make more money just staying at home than they could in any job that they ever went to. They have more power criticizing the government. And Biden don't like that. And now Trump don't. That's two things that they agree on. Trump was cool with as long as they weren't criticizing him. And now you got all these black Democrats saying, Biden, we go into Chicago, the convention in Chicago, and we're going to get your ass. You can't take anything or anybody for granted right now. And TikTok gave that power. And now they want to take it. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. It ain't fuck all except y'all don't want to be criticized. That's all it is. I think I should run for president. I really, really do.
I'd vote for you.
I agree. I would vote for you.
Shake for president. Shake for president. Team Shake.
Now,
Team
that
Shake.
would be a good sequel.
The
Shake as
sequel, if
president.
Shake is the president, that would be amazing.
I mean, it's better the devil you know than the devil you don't know.
Amen.
That's what I tell people. I mean, like I said, the apple might be garish and fabulous and over the top, but there is truth to it. And I always say that, these little cult musicals, it happens in different, really important pockets. And they try to warn us of the world to come.
Yes.
And nobody listens. That's
Well, let
why
me
a
ask
lot
you
of these. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you
I
off.
was going to say that's what you put about young people. All these young people start discovering these musicals, and they feel so new. It's so
Yeah.
strange to them that it was in 1980.
Yeah. Well, where can I? When will this be shown? How can I?
I will send it to you, but it's be on YouTube, and I'm working on our website now. I'm not a website designer, but I will post it on there and send it via email, and it will be on YouTube, and we'll promote the hell out of it because we're so blessed and honored that you took the time. And
Yes.
I was like, I couldn't believe I found you on Twitter. I was like, what? I was like, he ain't never gonna read this. And then you're like, yes, email me. I told Paulie about it. He's like, what? I was like, yes.
I
Have
love.
you ever?
Sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you, when did you start seeing this? When did you start hearing rumblings, or when did you start realizing that this had become some sort of niche cult thing?
Well, like in the last 5 years, I've been asked to do a couple of these. And like I talked to Sharita and go like, the apple has come again. You know, what I mean? And it's like I'm just looking at Shake right now. He looks really cool. Got his little bracelet
Yeah.
on. I'm like, go ahead, girl. Shake is like, runway material. So I'm going like, okay.
I mean,
Shake
and
could
that
go to the
silver
Beyonce
look.
concert.
You know
Yeah,
what
that
I'm saying?
silver outfit. Yeah, Renaissance.
Yes.
That's like how everyone went to the Beyonce concert. Shake was ready.
And
I
so,
think
so
Todrick Hall. I think Todrick Hall lifted your look.
Woo! Yes.
Hot take. Yep. But totally true. Totally true.
That glittery rhinestone lipstick and the bim marks. I mean, it was just like you took everything in the 80s and it predicted 80s fashion before 80s fashion.
well, see the things yeah. I mean that I'm looking at it now and I'm going like, wow. We
Mhm.
were ahead of our time. I mean, because we made that was made in 1970. That was made in 1979. Yeah, 79.
The one thing that I don't support from that movie is the glitter in the beards. I can't do a glitter beard. No glitter. Just
No glitter beard.
no.
I'm
No,
so
no.
glad I didn't have to have a beard.
I'm glad for you. I'm glad for you. Glitter
Y'all have
tooth
it-
over glitter beard.
I love that. Do y'all have
Did you
anything further to give to any flowers to give to Ray before we conclude, or any comments or questions before we conclude?
Well, you live on in screenings that I've been to, you live on in audiences. As for your other broad breadth of things that you do, which I salute you for, but this is a special treasure, and thank you for giving it to us.
No, thank you so much. And like I said, if there's ever another, what do they call those, event movie, tell the
Totally.
whoever's, I'd love to be invited. I'd love to come.
Absolutely. You know it.
Helena, get on that. You know
Uh-huh.
everybody at the
We just had it. We just had it. Yeah. Next time. We'll
Polly
have to
and
figure it out.
Darren.
Definitely.
No, I mean it's amazing that this film has found a bigger audience too. I don't know how aware you are in terms of how it's been released, but it's on streaming.
Is it?
Yes, and in fact, there's a couple of different versions of it. There's the standard film, but I don't know how familiar you are with Mystery Science Theater.
No.
Three comedic writers from that show made a company called Rip Tracks, which they do comedic commentary on movies. And The Apple is one of their best-selling commentaries. It's all in good fun, but they make fun of like everything that they're watching.
Wow, it's
But
great.
it's kind of taking the piss out of it, but it's a way that this film, I think, has resonated and found an audience beyond just like the musical theater geek, like that I love cult musicals. It's also
Yeah.
ventured into territory of comedy that it's interesting how it's become so big. And it's actually, again,
Wow.
like one of their best-selling commentaries for a movie.
That's
So
amazing.
so it's expanded beyond just its its niche audience.
Mm.
But that said, I mean, you've been a pleasure, and I actually did want to talk about ICE. I actually saw on YouTube a video that you did with the Institute of Contemporary Theater in Brighton.
Yeah, yeah. Mm.
Amazing. Just watching you coach and direct, and I mean, I really hope that something comes out of this, whether it's a live show or a mini series or some sort of something with it. I mean, it truly
It will. I mean, I tell my daughters I just need about 3 clones, and we'll get it all done. We'll get it all done. It's a trip. A lot of that has to do with my own mental health. I am. What is it? What am I? What do you call it? I have about 80,000 things that happen. Manic
ADHD.
depression. Yeah, I'm manic. I'm not the depressant. I'm not depressed. That part, I don't. But I am totally manic. Totally
Okay.
manic.
I get it.
So I got a book, a play, happening. But I have the attention span of that, and they all get finished. But they might get finished there, and then there, and then it's there, and it's there. But when they do get finished, and I'm always looking at something new to do, something interesting to do. So I am really, really chuffed, and thank you so much for asking me. I'm thrilled, and who knows, shake the sequel.
And Darren, do you have any flowers to give Ray?
I have a question. Because your career has spanned music, theater, writing, I'm just wondering, do you have any advice for younger people that may watch you and go, I want to do everything he does, and jump right into it, not understanding what is involved in having all of these different careers? And I know that you said that moving to Europe kind of saved your life. Are there any sort of pitfalls that you would be able to warn some of the younger viewers about?
Finish something. Finish something. It's like if you're making a record, finish that record. If you're writing a play, finish that play. Because once you have something finished, then you can sell it. You can sell it. And I know these young people, some of them think about 30 or 40 tracks that are unfinished. You only can sell, you can sell all of those tracks, but they got to be finished, and it's called an album. Or if it's a book, finish a book. I'd say that the best thing to do is actually just get good training. get good, that you don't have to go to the most expensive drama school, but every area I think in the world has some place that's either a theater school or a dance school. Try to learn. And now they even have what do you call those things? YouTube, how to do something. If you can think in terms of creating, you can't wait for people to give you a job. You can't wait for people to put you on stage. If you have friends and you want to be on stage, then put your money where your mouth is. Go out there, find a theater, write that play, get your friends, and get your ass up there and do it.
And in
You
the
can't
world we
wait
live
around.
in right now, you and I can attest to this, Ray, because we're both Americans living in the UK. I mean, the
Yeah.
arts is terribly under attack here. I mean, every university is just completely gutting arts. Like there's
Yeah.
some like prestigious universities that have cut theater, have cut film. I mean,
Yeah.
it's day by day. And it's like I think art is the one thing in life that we need, especially
Yeah.
in troubled world. How many, Lord of mercy, how many times we have to live through the end of days? But like I feel like we're always ending through we're ending in the end time since the beginning of time. But I think
Exactly.
art is
No, you're right. They were talking about Jesus was coming back right after he left.
he
Yeah.
don't want to.
This is
And the
true.
thing, and I think that what people don't understand, I do believe that the second coming of Christ is basically a Christ consciousness, because Jesus's name wasn't Jesus Christ. Christ is a title, the anointed one. And basically, if you actually go back to what his name was, it was Yeshua, the anointed one. So the thing about it is that we are all anointed. If you look at the brain and look inside the synapses and everything like that, and then you look at the sky at night, we are the brain of God. We're inside the brain of God. All those synapses and stuff like that. That's why Jesus said that our bodies are temples. We have worlds within us, and your worlds within you, they're either living because you're feeding them good and taking care of them, or they dying, baby, because you're fucking with them. So it is about us taking care of ourselves. I can't believe like they were having the debate. Starlight Express, the new company, they have a woman playing greaseball, and baby, these kids were losing their brains, losing their minds about the fact that it's a woman. I'm not gonna. My daughter bought 3 tickets from this girl. I don't even want to see it. I'm like, that's how you get old. If you stop moving, you're gonna die. You're gonna die. If you want to live, you got to move your mind, move your body, move your soul, move your thoughts, and be grateful. Thoughts are energy. We are the manifestation of the thoughts of the creator. And we as creators, you know what I'm talking about. Every time you create something that you've taken outside of this thing and put it on paper or put it on film or put it anywhere, you are a creator. You're a God. You're a God as well. We are made in the image of the creator. So it's a lot. But
We're taking the Saturday service on Easter weekend.
Well, I have a church. It's called the Church of No.
Tell us about that.
No fuck ups. No stupidness. No hate. No bullshit.
Okay, I like that.
The Church of No, baby. Because it's like I tend to think that religion has probably been the worst thing that ever came into this earth, because all it did was kill people. You don't believe in my God, I'm killing you. That's not intelligent. Why would you want to serve somebody that's wrathful and hateful? All the things your mama told you not to be, this God claims to be. Oh, please, that doesn't make any sense. That's not intelligent. The God I serve and align myself with is intelligent, and the only thing that my creator asks for me is to be grateful and to love. That's it. That's it. That's the whole of the law. All those other stuff. Like my little grandbaby, my grandchild won the lip syncing thing at his low, and I was there, baby. Tore it up. And now I don't know if you've been watching Drag Race UK versus the world. Miss Tia Coffee won, baby, and my grandchild is going to be supporting Tia Coffee when she comes to Brighton. Baby, that's what I'm saying. I know a certain part of my family, if we went back to North Carolina, they have us all on the altar. Jesus, all night long. But I look at it this way. That's my baby. That's my grandchild. That's what they want to do. I would not be, I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't embrace them, and help them do what they want to do. At the end of the day, that's between them and our God. Ain't got nothing to do with me. That's what they want to do. I remember my mother, when I used to walk around my wigs and hair and blue hair, she was like this. I'm not going to be no hypocrite. Christ consciousness, love, and respect.
Ooh,
Lord,
yes.
I'm
Yes.
telling you. I mean, and you give us that, and believe it or not, the apple gives us that as well, because good wins in the end.
Yeah.
It does.
Yes.
And a lot of these
Win that
musicals,
interstellar pimp mobile.
because a lot of these things that we love, the good people don't win. But the apple, the good people win, which is something, the
Yeah.
reason I love the apple, because a lot of these cautionary tale
endings.
musicals, yeah, they don't have happy endings. And this one does have a happy ending. And what'd you say?
The landlady gets screwed, but it's okay.
You know, if I ever go to a book signing for Miriam Margolyes, I'd be like, I loved you in the apple. I want to see what she'll say then.
Yes. Yes. Well, she's, I don't,
You're over there. Do it, man. Do it.
well, look, thank you so much for having me. I
Thank you.
really, really appreciate it. And whenever you need me, call me, like Diana says.
Yes. Will do.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for
Thank
coming.
you.